everybody. Welcome back. I'm glad you joined us again for another edition of Spotlight on Addiction and Recovery. I'm Scott Jones, and I have a special guest here today. You know, I say they're special guests. All of them are special guests, but, you know, this guy we just kind of met today hit it off right away. Excellent gentleman. His name is Dana McMahon, and he's from Second Chance Recovery. How you doing, Dana?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Boston guy, right?
Boston, born and bred.
Born and bred. We're in South Florida. Nobody's from South Florida.
That's true.
Everybody's from Boston, New York, New Jersey,
Philly, everywhere but here.
I love Philly.
Philly's a great town.
I'm Eagles all. Are you a Patriots fan?
I am.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad about Brady.
It's all right.
I guess we can talk about it now. First week in football, he didn't do too good.
He didn't look too hot, but hey. You know, the guy gave us 20 years of just awesomeness. I mean, the guy was just the best, and I feel like he can do whatever he wants to do.
I'm sure people are mad, but you're right. 20 years, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all you're going to give us? I mean, come on. In football, that's like 2 lifetimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
20 years with the same team. But hell, even Brett Favre played for somebody else at the end, and so did
Joe
Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the hell did he go?
He went to Kansas City, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah. I was a big Joe Montana fan growing up.
You had to be.
Big 49ers guy.
You had to be. You know what? You know what the great thing about Joe Montana? We're going to talk about recovery in just a minute. You guys just sit there. You know what the great thing about Joe Montana was? He never threw it further than anybody else. He didn't throw it faster or harder than anybody else. But he had a better football mind than anybody else.
He just threw it better.
He threw it better. He knew when to make the throw. Mm-hmm. He knew just how much touch to put on the throw. And he had a gentleman named Jerry Rice who made him look good even if he threw it backwards. So,
and that's why I like Brady. I think I didn't really like Brady when we first got him, to be honest. And like he got us our championship, but I was like, I still didn't buy into the Brady thing. And
well, you had to kind of let go of Bledsoe at the time. You know?
That's what it was. And I think, and then you know, and then watching him, he was such a smart player. You know, he didn't have a cannon. He just was smart, and he knew how to utilize his players. So
then you watch Brady grow, and you watch Bledsoe go. Bledsoe in Buffalo, and it's like, oh, who?
Exactly. He went all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's enough football. But you know what? It's that time of year, and with everything going on, sometimes you got to take a few moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, you and I were talking about it before the show. Sometimes if you're not laughing and smiling and enjoying things, why the hell would you even be sober?
Exactly. And, I mean, for me, that's what recovery is all about, is getting your passions back and exploring new ones.
I love that.
And for me, that's everything. Because I was a big athlete growing up, and I messed that up. I had lots of opportunities, drugs and alcohol and trouble, and all that got in the way.
Yeah.
And when I was getting sober, or trying to get sober, I had no reason to live anymore. Nothing brought me joy but drugs. And,
right.
And even that didn't really do it.
It's the lie that you buy into.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time.
Yeah. I always use this example, right? And it's pretty accurate. A friend of mine shared it with me, but it's dead accurate. And if you ever get caught in a rainstorm driving down 95 or whatever highway, right? And it's downpouring, right? And it's loud. Your windshield wipers can't keep up with it.
Right.
That's my brain addicted. Just loud, nonstop, anxiety, panic. Oh my God. Right?
Absolutely no clarity.
Zero.
Total panic.
Total panic at all times.
Yeah.
On to the next one.
I like that.
On to the next one.
That.
But until you get to that underpass and it goes,
yeah.
That's what drugs did for me.
Just
that 1 or 2 seconds of, you know. And
right.
That's what I live for, was just to be able to breathe for a sec.
And it's crazy. Even the whole concept, and, you know, correct me if this isn't, you know, your direction, but the whole concept of high. Mm-hmm. We use the words high. Mm-hmm. I like to get high. I like to, and for the life of me, as I grew in sobriety, I started looking back and saying, I'm not sure what part of that was actually elevated. to call it high. My inhibitions were lower. My intelligence was lower. My ability to control my bladder was lower. I could not, my ability to control my temper and my emotions was lower.
Yeah.
My ability to be a human being was diminished. Everything was lower. So essentially, there was nothing high about it. High, I say high is the lie. It is the lie we talk ourselves into about being high and confident and this and that. But it's all false. It's all a lie.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just not sick.
Yeah.
And I mean, to live like that is torture, right? There's a lot of pain involved in that, just to wake up in the morning and realize you're in Groundhog's Day. All like, it's just
Same thing over and over.
yeah, and it's the worst, and you don't know how to get out.
No.
You want to so bad, and you don't know how.
So what was it for you that was, if you don't mind, some of your personal stuff? Because I want to talk about second chance recovery, but I'd like people to understand who you are first. Right. What was it for you that made that turn of, this is no longer fun, I need something different?
Well, I mean, I feel like I started with drugs at a very young age, and it progressed to heroin pretty young. I was 16. So it became not fun pretty quickly. I'd say around 18.
Okay. All right.
I started going to treatment centers. I remember the first time I told my mom that I was addicted to Oxycontin. And I ran into her room and I said, Mom, I'm addicted. I didn't realize what I was doing. All the kids, we were just partying, drinking, smoking weed, being high school kids. And then, these oxys came out and everyone's taking them. All it takes is 3 days of doing those in a row and you're physically addicted.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was doing them like I always did everything. Once I start, I'd just do them. And one day I didn't do them and I was really sick. And I panicked. I was like, what is wrong with me? And then my friend told me, you're dope sick, man. And I said, what? And I never forget that. I ran into my mom's room and it was like 8:30 in the morning. She was still in bed. And I just said, Mom, I need help. Like, that stuff, what's his name, died from last year. I'm on that.
Wow.
And she panicked. She went on the computer and she just started looking. And
So you were the first one to identify, that you were reaching out for help.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And that's actually not the case in most times.
Never.
It's usually somebody else dragging somebody
Never.
in. So
Now that I had that experience too.
yeah, because this is not the one and done story, folks. This is the wandering addict here.
Yeah. This was many, many years of suffering, of trying to get better and going to every treatment type of program you can think of, from the 12 steps to Scientology type stuff. I mean, everything. We tried everything, and I just wanted to get better, and I didn't know how.
What was missing? I mean, now looking back in hindsight, I'm sure then you could not identify, but if you look back now, you were in how many treatment centers, would you say?
Over 35, somewhere in the 35 to 40 plus range.
Some of those repeats? The same place?
Most of usually I would go to one place and like it, and if I liked it, I'd go back multiple times until they told me to kick rocks. I wore out my welcome many places.
And you probably played the victim at that point. Yeah. Oh, look at me, I'm trying. They don't want me, so this is their fault now.
Exactly.
All right, so 40 different treatment adventures, 35 to 40. Now, looking back at all of that, I'm sure you remember some of it, probably not all of it. Could you see where you were missing steps or something was missing that might have been a difference maker?
I think it was multiple things, but if I was to say the two main things was one, honesty with myself.
Yeah, we were talking about
I didn't know how to be honest with myself. I portrayed that I wore this mask that I couldn't take off.
Okay.
And this mask that I portrayed of what I wanted people to see to what was really going on.
Now, was that motivated by you not being able to face it, or because you knew what it was, you just didn't want other people to know?
I think
or maybe
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of both, but I think a lot of it was other people to know.
Yeah.
I've always been a very outgoing, personable guy. I would always be the loudest, the funniest.
Yeah.
You know,
I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm not like that at all.
right. And you know, I was a very good athlete, and you know, I wanted people to, you know, where I grow up in Boston, it's like, you know, you don't talk about your feelings. You don't share those things. I grew up with an alcoholic father who passed away at 58 years old from alcoholism, and, you know, he, you know, instilled in me not to say certain things. Even in the neighborhood, you just don't talk about that stuff. And
Southie?
no, I grew up outside of Boston,
Okay.
mainly in Woburn. It was just so I just couldn't get honest with myself.
So, at what point did that turn for you? Was it a personal experience, or was it just
It was
time?
many personal experiences.
Okay.
It was beaten up year after year. I think my final straw. So I did a lot of time in jail and prison.
Okay.
And I got out, and I came, and
Well, let's do the honesty test. Were you guilty?
100%.
There we go.
100%. 100%. Everything I did was drug and alcohol
Sure.
related. I was big into part of the whole image thing, selling drugs and being that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I got caught many times because drug addicts aren't really good drug dealers.
No, they're not.
They're not. Well, I like to think I was, you know.
Well, yeah.
But it was
Somehow
bad.
the police just don't buy into the
Yeah,
same fantasy that you're
yeah,
living. I mean,
yeah.
they just don't.
They just kept showing up. And, you know,
Bastards.
Yeah, you know. So, but I think it was that I got out, and I told my mom. Remember as I was getting out, I said, "Mom, I was like, I really need to get some help, because I feel like if I go back home, when I get out of here, it's going to be bad." You know, and that's when I decided to come down to Florida. And I went to a great program, and it was kind of a long story, but before I went into prison, I was selling drugs in Richmond, Virginia, which is a pretty rough town, and I was dealing with people I shouldn't have been dealing with. And I was involved with, my house was broken into, a home invasion, and I was tortured for 3 days, burned all over my body, looking for the drugs. And then my dad died 2 weeks later from alcoholism, who was my absent father, who I loved and adored. That happened like 2 weeks later, and then I went to prison. And in that order, it was a rough month.
Wow. I would say so, yes.
And so when I got out, I was dealing with extreme amounts of PTSD, flashbacks, night terrors. I couldn't sleep. I had these panic attacks constantly. So there's now dealing with that on top of a vicious heroin addiction. And I knew if I went home, it was like I knew I wanted the heroin because it was the only thing that might calm down this PTSD. Now I was
Right.
self-medicating.
Yeah, yeah.
And so basically that was it. And I went down the road of treatment again and kept going until I got it. And really it was another few brush ups with the law where I was facing real time this time. And I had a great treatment center that I went to prior that loved me and cared about me, and they were small and they were intimate and they dealt with PTSD specifically, and they showed up at court for me to get me house arrest to them.
Wow.
So it was very interesting, and I'm forever grateful for them. You know, they moved their program out to Colorado, so they're no longer the same facility, but they're still around, just a different kind of program. And I'm very grateful for them because they believed in me, and they knew I was suffering. And every time I went to their program before, they would get into the real heavy trauma work, and I would run, and I would leave against medical advice every time. As soon as it got to the real nitty-gritty stuff,
Right.
I couldn't deal, and I would take off. So the clinical director got real crafty, and he said, I'm going to use this as an opportunity. If I can get the judge to give him a shot with us, house arrest him to us in our custody. And then
Yeah.
we got him.
Yeah, so it's like do not pass go, do not collect,
Yeah.
go straight to jail if you decide to step outside the door.
Correct.
And I think that's a brilliant
It was.
answer as opposed to incarceration.
Correct.
Now, obviously, for extremely violent crimes, we don't,
Correct.
but for a lot of people, I mean, when you're thinking about 80 to 85% of everyone who's arrested for any type of felony, it involves alcohol or drugs in one way. They're either under the influence or it's part of a plan to get. 80 to 85%. Over 50% of everyone who's in prison right now is clinically addicted, like physically addicted to I mean, these are huge numbers. Now, and your actual proof that, that maybe some sort of societal change
Absolutely.
is in order for these kind of crimes, that these people deserve a chance.
I'm a huge component of that. When I did my time, I got to see what happened to innocent I don't want to call them innocent, but let's say drug addicts that aren't real criminals in jail, and what happens to them in there.
Yeah.
Now they're leaving a real criminal because
Yeah.
they had to turn into something just to make it through that.
Well, the whole. You do learn a lot in prison. Unfortunately, it's not about how to be a better person.
No.
It's generally how to survive being a bad person, and that's what you
Correct.
become. So I am so glad that you took the other path and that you had an opportunity to do that. I wish more people had that same opportunity.
I agree. I wish, like there are some states that are doing some really good stuff though. My state being one of them. Massachusetts is doing a lot of great things up there with nonviolent drug offenders getting treatment, and I feel like that should be a countrywide law of some sort.
And everybody's like, well, they don't deserve treatment and this and that and the cost. Well, if you look, the average cost per day, it's like 70% less for them to be in treatment over being incarcerated. Yeah. Incarceration is a very expensive proposition.
Expensive.
Very expensive. So anyway, so you had this perfect storm of, well, for lack of a better term, shit come your way.
Absolutely.
And it kind of forced your hand. You had people that, thank God, you had one of those treatment centers willing to step up and help you. Started you on the right path.
Yeah.
Now you're forced to deal with the trauma, and get honest and do all of that. Yeah. So you walk out the door, and then did you know what your life was going to be?
No. Matter of fact, I was completely petrified because here I am with a house arrest monitor on my ankle, and it was very strict terms. So if I so much as got a technical, I'm doing 34 years in prison. So
wow.
I had that in my head.
Yeah.
And I was totally scared, and thank God that treatment center had a relationship with a man in AA that became my sponsor, and he was from my neck of the woods, and he was 34 years sober, and he saved my life. He showed me how to live, and that was when you asked the question of what was the thing that was the change for me. It was life skills as well. I had no life skills.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to live sober. I had no idea how to live and being a regular Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
Like good person. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what it looked like. I never had a job. I never, like all these things. I was smart. I had the potential to do all those things, but I didn't have the confidence in me that I would be able to live that.
You were not practiced at being a responsible human being, and I think that probably scares more people out of a recovery than anything else. It's not
100%.
What if it fails? It's what if it succeeds? Now I got to be responsible. I've got to go to work. I've got to pay my bills. I've got to do this. That's a lot.
Especially when you've never done it.
When you've never done it before.
Scary. It's scary. And that's the thing. And that's, for me, that's everything, right? So it's like, we all have different journeys, so to speak, in recovery, right?
Yeah.
And we don't all recover the same way, right? And I do believe in AA and the spiritual principles behind it, with everything in my being, right? But I also think that people need extra help a lot of times, whether that be therapy, whether that be with life skills, whether right with all these things, and for me that's everything, because drugs and alcohol isn't my problem. Dana is my problem. He's always been the problem. It wasn't because I was sexually abused as a kid. It wasn't like those things were just fuel on a fire.
Yeah.
I always tell the story. My first substance was sugar, right? And
Okay.
it was really maple syrup. And I tell this story all the time because I was 2 years old, and first time my mom made me some waffles, I was like 2.5, and I remember this. This is like, I really do remember this. She put maple syrup on, I love the taste of it, right? So when she's at work, the next day, I go climbing up the cabinet, and I take the maple syrup, and I start swigging it, right? And at first, it was just because I liked the taste. But then I drank a lot of it, and I got this sugar high. And I loved the feeling of it, what it did for me. And every day from that point forward, I was stealing my mother's maple syrup out of the cabinet, drinking it under her dining room table with a tablecloth hiding me, like sitting there swigging it. Like, I was born with this disease.
That's amazing. Amazing. So we got to watch you. You keep you away from the bars, from the drug corners, and obviously IHOP.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny how you can relate all those things and say, well, what do you mean maple syrup and heroin and alcohol and this? No, it's all tied in together. It's all about escapism.
It's because what it does for me.
Yeah.
Because my sister can drink, and she's not breaking out in handcuffs. I am. Okay. I have that allergy inside of me. When I have it, I can't stop, and I don't know. My perception goes out the window.
Yeah.
It's gone. And for me, it's my behaviors that always lead me to that. So I better learn how to do some other behaviors. And that's a big component, and I believe that. I experienced that, and I've been in the industry now a couple of years, and I love being in the industry, and I see it over and over again. You get the chronic relapse who's been in here numerous times, and we're still doing the same thing, like cookie cutter stuff. Yeah. Let's go outside the box a little bit. This guy doesn't know how to live. He has zero confidence. He doesn't know what he's doing.
You can't just take away a problem without replacing it with something.
Right. And exploring passions and experiencing things and teaching someone things that are transferable when they walk out the friggin' door.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's kind of what we designed our program as. It's not just about taking them through the 12 steps. Yes, that's a part of it. But it's a lot more than that. It's more about experiencing recovery and having our friends that we trust in recovery come and pick them up, take them to meetings, take them golfing, take them to experiencing getting joy in their life again with sober men.
Yes.
And to get some joy back.
Absolutely.
To have something to live for.
Who does anything because it sucks?
Exactly. And when I'm sitting in treatment for 30 to 90 days, and I'm sitting in group all day learning about my disease, right?
But not about how to live.
And no action. Okay, that's great. Now I know everything about what I suffer from. Thanks. Okay, awesome. Now what the hell do I do with it? Mm-hmm. And that was my problem. Why I couldn't get I had no idea what to do. And so for me, I wanted a small program to be able to show men. Some big difference there.
Well, you say you don't do radio or anything like that, but you found your own segue. We went straight into it, which I'm glad you did, because we were heading there anyway. Second Chance Recovery. Now, we've got two components to this, and you've got a residential treatment center, and then you've got a sober living. Correct. This is all for men, first of all.
Correct. Yes.
Is that by design or simply because you're limited right now to really just kind of zeroing in on one thing?
It's by design, for kind of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now, financially, obviously, we don't have,
right.
and I don't have the step. But what I've found when I've been doing research about women, there's not as many that I know, personally, strong women that I would hire to be in that position.
To do this kind of program.
Kind of stuff. So I really got to do more research. And
you got to find them.
Find them. Right, and financially is a big part of it. We barely had the money to start
But
this.
no, well, I wasn't really mean the money as much as, this is fairly new. How long have you been open?
Since March.
Okay, this is brand new. You're opening at a time of a crisis, which is, hats
Terrible
off to you.
idea.
But it's needed.
Yeah.
It's needed. People don't understand. Some major cities are having a 52% increase in overdose deaths.
It's insane.
But it's not even news anymore because it's not sexy to talk about. It's
Right.
COVID is the big deal, and the
Yeah.
elections are the big deal, and but it's still going on. So I'm glad you're open. I think I probably got to phrase a question better. I guess your plan would certainly be to service both men and women,
Yes, down
but
the
to
road.
start off with one and focus on that, build the program,
Perfect.
and then go out. So that's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah. We want to perfect it, and we had.
And you got the men on right there,
Right.
including yourself, who know
Right.
how to do that.
Right, and my co-founder and partner Dan Selmer, who's a big part of me getting sober, he worked at that program I was talking about that saved my life, and he's my best friend today. We kind of had the story of how we started is pretty amazing. Actually, it's kind of crazy, and it's like another thing of why I believe in God so much, and nothing happens by mistake, And we sat in that treatment center, and I was still detoxing, and I said, Dan, what if if I actually got sober, we created our own. We had very similar
Yeah.
we just had so much in common, and we also had so much very similar belief system, the way we wanted to do things, right? And we were just spitting out all these ideas. Here we are, fast forward 4.5 years later, and that same program is now the house we're doing our program in.
Wow.
Where that's the program is the house we're in is where we had that conversation, and some of the staff that's working for us were also working for that program when they left to Colorado and merged. So it's a beautiful story. It's really awesome that it's been able to come to fruition, and we're doing it kind of unique in some ways because we're able to spend, we have a lot of guys, we've kind of designed it for the chronic relapser, right?
Right.
The guy that's been to multiple treatment centers and not getting it. Well, why? Why is he not getting it? And being able to explore that. They're getting two to three individual therapy sessions a week, and then they're getting everyday sessions with either Dan or I, or a 12-step staff, right? So they're getting a lot of perception and a lot of one-on-one time as well as group time,
Right.
as well as going out daily with sober supports of our approval, experiencing recovery in the community, in the recovery community, going to CrossFit with recovery guys, doing sober things and
Now,
having fun.
this is while they're in the treatment,
Correct.
not just sober living. I mean,
Correct. This
in the
is-
treatment, you're trying to expose them to the outside to prepare them for the outside.
Correct.
As opposed to putting them behind a wall, keeping them there for 30 days, then opening
then
the
say,
door and
"Figure
saying,
it out."
good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's a meeting schedule.
No.
Go do it.
And that's the whole thing is our transferables. When we say transferables, that's what we mean is what we're teaching you is being able to put it to practice right away.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have a blackout period in their first week or two,
Sure,
getting through.
sure.
Still a little sick.
Let them
coming
settle
out of
in and-
detox,
yeah.
get settled in, of course. But then it's game on. We want to put them right out there with the people that we trust and know are living this program, because as we know in recovery, there's a lot of people that speak really well, not living it.
Yeah, it doesn't do any good to talk about peace, love, and harmony and go home and kick the cat. I mean,
Correct.
it's
And
you've got to carry this through
unfortunately,
every
there's a lot-
area.
Right, and unfortunately, there's a lot of that.
There is a lot of that, but we're also talking about, we have to go beyond addiction and think about the other disease that really is getting us all, which is that humanness.
Correct.
That we're all full of shit in a certain
Right.
way. I
in
mean,
some way, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of what I wanted. I'm very transparent with my guys.
Yeah.
And I don't try to talk like I'm here and you're here. It's, listen, I'm a vicious drug addict, ex-criminal. That's who you're talking to. And I've been to 40 plus treatment centers. All right. I'm telling you this because this has been my experience, and this is what like, I'm not just going to sit here and tell you things because I think it sounds nice.
Yeah.
It's going to be on a real deep level of this is what I had to do, and let's get real. You know, if one of the first things you do when you get out of treatment every other time is get a girlfriend, let's not get a girlfriend this time. Let's try that.
Yeah.
Right. Let's try. You know, like not caring about everything of how I dress and look at me. Let's make recovery number one and do something different. You know?
Absolutely.
And build that foundation.
Now, your Second Chance Recovery, now the residential is separate from the sober living, or is it the same facility?
Yes, no, it's the same program, but different locations. So
Different locations,
The
okay.
sober house is what I started with, and I started by myself with that, and that was in Boynton Beach. It's literally a 5-minute drive down the road.
From the treatment center?
Yes.
Okay.
I started out with just like a very structured sober living. So like I'm still very involved with that. I have a live-in staff member there. They get, the thing I like is that they get to still be a part of the treatment. They can come back for case management services. They can come back for therapy sessions at basically a $40 rate.
Right.
Which is incredibly low, as we know. Most
Very
therapy sessions is $150 to $250, you know, and
Right.
we wanted everything very affordable. And that's why we did the program the way we did it, $7,500 a month, all inclusive, therapy, case management, food, all of it.
And the truth, you know what the truth is, and I hate to say this, most places you could make that work at those better prices. You know, maybe a couple dollars more because of a location or because of something. But, you know, $30,000 and $40,000 and stuff like that, I mean, it becomes prohibitive for people to get sober.
Who can
why are you doing
that? Who can afford that, really?
Yeah.
The majority can't.
They can't. And the fact that they're even asking for that money is sometimes offensive. Would you agree? I mean,
Very offensive.
Yeah.
That's my mother.
yeah. Yeah, let's ask the ones who paid.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for that, for trying to keep it real and keep it so that it is accessible to people.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, so this is all in the Delray and Boynton area, right
Correct.
there. So it's really not that far. It's probably about a half hour north of Fort Lauderdale and just south of the Palm Beach area. So it's really not that hard to get to, people. If you have any questions about Second Chance Recovery, there are numbers on the screen. I'm going to give it to you in case you're listening to this on iTunes or something like that. If you go to the description, the phone number will be in there, but I'll give it to you now. 561-862-3165. That's 561-862-3165. You could certainly just go to yscrecovery.com.
Correct. Yeah, our website is very descriptive.
Okay, good.
It's under the programs section of the website. It gives very detail of what we do, what we're offering, and
Now, do you put pictures of people riding ponies and skydiving on your website?
no, I think I might have a fishing trip on there. That's about it.
Okay.
Like a little chart.
Did
fish
you
chart.
actually go fishing?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go then.
It was clients that actually signed off on being on the website and being okay with that and putting a fishing chart. Because we try to take them out pretty often. Like I said, like they're doing a lot of things with sober support, but as a whole house with our staff involved, all going on like a weekend little having fun, a little levity, and having some fun and laughs.
Absolutely.
It's important. We didn't get sober to be glum lot. You know what I mean? It's
No.
important that you understand when you're coming in is recovery is hard, but it's worth it. Because like life can be beautiful, and it's about my perception around life, like there's nothing I can't get through today. I started a business over my head, right? That I'm not educated around that.
Mm-hmm.
Trial and error, right?
Right.
Learning from mentors, people helping me, asking for help, and through a pandemic with very little money, it's been extremely difficult. To say the least, stressed and pressure and all that stuff. And I'm happy. I'm okay. I don't want to get high today. And that never comes across. It's not about getting high anymore. It's about being the best person I can be, being better than I was yesterday, giving myself a break when I screw up, because I do often.
And to find out, it's amazing when you start to find out what really being high is about. What really being high is to have a real laugh. What's really being high is to feel love, like really feel love. Yeah. That's when you elevate yourself. That's when your spirit gets high and your soul gets high, and all those other things were just a lie.
Yeah.
And we want you guys to embrace that. I want you to check out Dana, and you said your business partner, Dan.
Yeah.
Check these guys out. They're open book. I mean, as far as what I see, give them a call, stop by, whatever you got to do. Let me ask you another question. It's a men's program, hopefully a women's program we see in the future. But what is the size of the program, your capacity?
So we're at 10.
But how many people can you have in your program? You have a maximum capacity?
Yeah.
It's 10?
It's 12.
12.
If we wanted to.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so you're not looking for 70, 80 people all
No.
jammed into a room.
No, because I feel like then it loses its power, and the intimacy
Yeah.
is very important. Because I think that's a big part of the problem is sometimes these programs might have a great program, but if you've got 100 beds, you get lost in the shuffle. And if you're a manipulative drug addict like myself, it's very easy to smile in front of the clinical director. Everything's great. I'm doing wonderful today.
It's really easy to sit in the back row of the group.
Yeah.
Remember what we called the back row of the group? Relapse row?
Exactly, yeah. I was a prime candidate of relapse row.
I'm sure you probably had a girl sitting on either side of you
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything, the whole 9 yards, right?
The whole nine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, so it's important. You're right. Even if the program does have the capacity to do good things,
Right.
if the
My
person
thing
gets
is-
lost in that program, it's no good.
No, and that's why my whole thing is when we do grow, it's about growing different locations, not the
Right.
property. So like having one here in this city and having one up north, and it's really a dream of mine to bring one back home to Boston because I ran amok there, and I'd love to be able to give back to my city, and it's important.
I think that would be good as long as it's not open in the winter. I don't want to be up there. It's too freaking cold, man.
Yeah, it's freezing.
I don't miss that. I'm from Syracuse, New York.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You're even worse than us.
Well, yeah, we're worse than a lot of people. We've heard that in a lot of ways. But anyway, listen, Dana, it's been an absolute pleasure. Once again, folks, you want to check out Your Second Chance Recovery. I know I'll be going up for a visit and seeing you guys soon.
We'd be so glad to have you.
Maybe I'll bring a little guitar. We'll have some fun or do something. You
absolutely. We love that.
But yeah, check them out for yourself. yscrecovery.com. Again, the information's on the screen. 561-862-3165. Give them a chance. It's nice to see somebody who's put themselves through all of those different treatment things and modalities. You've seen every modality. You've probably been treated in every other way. To finally come through on the other side and saying, some of this is good, some of this is not so good. Let me see if we could build something.
Yeah.
And the idea that your thing is built on not just teaching them about the sickness, let's teach them about how to live being well.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
It's everything.
And you guys laugh a lot.
I laugh a lot. We have a great time over there.
All right. All right, Dana, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Folks, thanks for joining us for another edition of Spotlight on Addiction and Recovery. I think I said another edition of Spotlight. If you're addicted to the show, that's fantastic. Keep that going. We don't want to change it. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Spotlight on Addiction and Recovery. I'm Scott Jones. Remember, join us and hit like on our YouTube channel, ATC Network, and make sure you subscribe to us, share it with your friends, and we'll catch you next time.